Okay, not everybody's joined in yet, but I'm going to go ahead and start. Okay, can everybody hear me? Thumbs up?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Perfect. Okay. All right. So first, I want to say hello and welcome our new students. We have some new students. We've got Marty and Mary. Welcome. And we've got Phil and Angelica. Welcome. And of course, Rio and Mallory. So welcome to you three. And I'm going to kind of go over this. The point of the class is to help you get financially free using real estate. Okay, and we teach you how to acquire assets that will help you replace your income. You refinance and pay them off, and that's how you're going to become financially free. So let me first, I always start with the wins. I just kind of like to update all the students to let everybody know where everybody is at. So right now, if you want to say, if this was a race, Giuseppe's in the lead. Giuseppe has 5 houses. Martha has 4 houses. Jordan has 4 houses. Josh Ownby has 4 houses. John Eilers has 4 houses. Michael has 3 houses. Jermaine has 3 houses. Lewis has 3 houses. Kira has 3 houses. Ishmael has gotten 3 houses. Dave and Gail have 3 houses. Gerald and Andrea have 3 houses. Ray and Vanessa have 3 houses. Gina and Tim have 3 houses. Randy and Valerie have 2 houses. Devin has 2 houses. Matthew has 2 houses. Daniel has 2 houses. Frank has 2 houses. Josh Zolweg has 1 house, and he is in the process of purchasing his 2nd house now. Don has 1 house. Danny and Edna have 1 house, and John and Karen have 1 house. Okay. So let me do this. Okay. So the first part of this program, a lot of you have already completed this, is getting your LLC documents. Now, I know Marty, Mary, Phil, Angelica, Rio, Mallory, you guys just recently completed that step. And now you actually, I got you your operating agreement, and then your EINs are done, and you should be in the process of opening a bank account. So if you don't have a bank account, you want to make sure, I like to go over this a little bit, is avoid the big banks, okay? Avoid the banks that are going to take a lot of charges. So avoid like the Wells Fargos, Bank of America, all of these banks that are going to charge you money to put your money in their bank. We want to avoid those banks. So the banks which I recommend are usually the smaller credit unions. We like Nusenda. It's a really good bank. They usually give you some returns, and the members kind of own that bank, so it works out. Members have stock in there, so it works out. Another bank is U.S. Eagle to an extent. I think U.S. Eagle does charge some fees. Sandia or Navy Federal. So these little banks, the federal credit unions, are usually going to be your best off as far as getting an account with them and not having to, not getting any kind of fees. So Marty, Mary, Phil, Angelica, Rio, and Mallory, I want to make sure once you have your bank account open, I recommend you put about $5,000 in to start with. 5 to 10K. That'll be a good start for you, and then this way you can start investing pretty aggressively. Okay. So that being said, I am going to share my screen here, and we're going to go into today's lesson. So let me see. Okay, let's go to share screen. Okay. And now I am going to, can everybody see my screen? Thumbs up?
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. All right. So some people have asked me in the past, why real estate? And I want to share with you the reason why real estate as opposed to the stock market. Okay. So we own stocks, okay, and we've made it very apparent that we usually do about $2,000 a month in dividends from our dividend stocks. So it's not bad. I mean, it's nothing to shake a stick at. You know, it's better than a sharp stick in the eye, but ultimately, it doesn't even compare to the amount of money we make from real estate. So I wanted to make sure and share this with you. You can see the stock market versus real estate. Okay, now these are actual numbers. This is what we have invested. So if you look and see, the number that I have here on the left is $41,244.60. This is Bank of America stock that we own. Okay, that Bank of America stock, the $41,000 we have invested in Bank of America, it pays us about $300 every quarter. Okay, $300 every quarter is going to calculate up to about $1,200 for the year. Now, if you look and see on the right side, we have another property. It's a property we bought on a street called East Homes. Okay, and we have that property cost us $41,500. Okay, it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. Now, right now, currently, East Homes pays us about $1,250 a month for rent, which equates to $15,000 for the year. So if you're comparing the same amount of money invested, you see on Bank of America on the left, we have $41,244 in that account. On the right, we have $41,500 invested, and the difference is astronomical. So $1,200 a year you're making versus $15,000 a year. So this gives you an idea of why we love real estate so much. Now, when we talk about appreciation is also going to make a difference here as well. So if you look at Bank of America, it's appreciated since we invested in it, it's appreciated about 4.17%, which is an increase of about $1,718.04. So the current Bank of America value is, our stock in Bank of America is $42,962.63. Now, if you'll notice, our house on East Homes has appreciated about 250%. So you'll notice that that particular house, when we had it appraised last, it appraised for $145,250. Now, compared to the $41,500 we have invested in that house, it has appreciated 250%. So again, this gives you a bit of an idea of why we love real estate so much. And that's not even getting into the different tax benefits. Okay, if we start talking about tax benefits and we start talking about cost segregation, we start talking about all these different benefits you're going to get from taxes. Real estate is really the way to go. You're going to be able to save so much money, and you can end up writing money off of your bottom line income. And so that's something you definitely can't do in the stock market. Okay, so this is one of the reasons, or these are some of the reasons why we love real estate versus the stock market. Okay, another question I've been asked is, why Memphis? Why do you guys like investing in Memphis? Memphis is a rental market. It's a rental area. Okay, it's 60% of the people that live in Memphis rent. They don't buy their houses. And so that's what makes Memphis so beneficial. Here in Albuquerque, you know, I own some real estate in Albuquerque, but I sold it right away. The thing that I actually own in Albuquerque is land. That's the ironic part about it. I actually own land here. I don't own any rental properties because the rental market here isn't great. You know, you'll end up spending a whole bunch of money for a property, and you don't. There's no way on earth you could get a piece of property here, or I could say a house here for $41,500 here in Albuquerque. You know, honey, he's whining. Can you let him outside? Yeah. Our little doggy wants to go outside and cause a ruckus. Excuse me, but anyway, so I say the rental market here in Albuquerque is not that great. So that's why I don't recommend you buy in Albuquerque. Now, you could also, there's another couple of places which we do invest. That is Arkansas and Mississippi. So we will be coming up with area codes for that. We don't have the teams and enough of a back end team out there yet that we can actually offer that to you guys. So, but you can definitely use these formulas that I give you today for any area. You can use them if you wanted to invest here in Albuquerque. You could invest in Albuquerque as well. But I think the best market here for Albuquerque is really fix and flips. If you want to do real estate here, I recommend flipping. And we've done some flips out here. But that's how you're going to make your money. But again, you're going to have to pay capital gains, and so there are some disadvantages to it. But yeah, definitely I don't recommend. That's why we invest in Memphis. So let us move on here. So now, what I was going to talk to you about today is, let me see here. Looks like this thing here is wanting to give me a little bit of a problem here. Okay, so let's see. Okay, let me do this real quick. I went to the screen share. Let's do this. We're going to go to this. Okay, why did it do that? Okay, that's weird. Okay, let's go back to Chrome. Okay, let's see if I can get us back in here. Okay, I think we did. This is okay. Let's go back here. Okay, now I've got a new window of Chrome. Okay, you can tell that this is my first time, guys. Bear with me. Okay, let's see here. Let us go to this again. Okay, that now it's doing the old one here. Okay. So let's see if I can share the screen again. Okay. All right. Okay, the Burr principle. Okay, the Burr principle is commonly known as you buy, you rehab, you rent, you refinance, and then you repeat. Now, Randy and I came up with something a little different. We call it the BURP principle. Okay, so we buy, we rehab, we rent, refinance, and then you pay off. Okay, so because when you buy and you rehab, you rent and you refinance, you are going to see some type of cash flow from it, but until you actually pay the property off, you won't be able to really appreciate the huge amount of cash flow that we're going to be looking to get. So to give you an example, Jordan, I know you're on the call. How much money do you make from your properties? The three properties, or the fourth one isn't rented yet, but the three properties that you have currently, how much money are you making a month on those properties? That you're keeping, that you're actually bringing home?
It's about $350, $400 a month.
Okay, $350 or $400 a month. Okay, and that's from each property, or that's from all the three properties?
That's from so all three properties. It's about $500.
$500 a month.
Yeah.
Okay. So you guys see Jordan's making about $500 a month and the reason why he's not making more is because of the fact that he has a mortgage. Now, if you didn't have a mortgage on those properties and you calculated all the rent, how much money would you be bringing home a month on those three properties?
Just under $3,000.
Okay, just under $3,000 a month. So you can see the difference: $500 a month versus $3,000 a month if he had them, if he owned them free and clear. So that's why we emphasize, you want to do the BURP principle as opposed to the BURR. You don't want to just keep on getting little bits and little bits of money. The idea is to, once you develop a bit of cash flow, you have some kind of momentum, you can actually pay the properties off. Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about the buy part. Okay, so we're going to focus on the B in the BURP principle. Okay, where to buy and where do you get the money to buy? All right, so today we're going to focus more on where to buy. Okay, and then we're going to go a little bit into Randy. We're going to go into the BURP. We're going to go into the payoff part of it, but we're going to focus on where to buy, and then next week we'll focus on where do you get the money to buy. We'll bring on one of our lenders from Avalon, and then they will actually be talking about how to go through the loan process and all of that kind of thing, and how much money you're going to have to bring to the table and so on. So where to buy? Okay, area codes which are good to invest in Memphis, where to buy the houses in Memphis. So these are area codes which are vetted. We own several houses in this area or in these areas, but let's start with 38108. We call it the Douglas area. It's actually called the Hollywood/Douglas area, but you want to kind of invest towards Douglas as away from Hollywood. Hollywood is more of a ghetto area, so you don't want to necessarily be in the ghetto. All right, 38108. So that's actually, it's kind of close to another area code, which is Berkeley. That's 38122. But I'm just going to go in order. So 38108, 38111 is known as Sherwood Forest. Okay. 38118 is known as Parkway Village. 38128 is known as Raleigh. 38122 is Berkeley. 38115 is Fox Meadows. 38141 is Hickory Hill. 38133, 38134, and 38135 are all parts of Bartlett. Okay, and then 38125 is Germantown. Okay, now you'll notice one thing is that as I kind of went down the list, you'll notice that the area codes which are a little bit lower, from 38141 to Hickory Hill, Bartlett, and Germantown, you're going to be able to get more money for rent in those areas. Okay, I should say, you know, Berkeley, from Berkeley down, Berkeley, Fox Meadows, Hickory Hill, Bartlett, and Germantown, those are considered more sought after areas. And so therefore, if you find a house in those areas, you want to try to probably snatch it up if it's priced right. Okay, so now how do we know if it's priced right? Let's go on to the next slide. The two most important things to consider before buying are your ARV, okay, and your cash on cash return on investment. All right, so now ARV is going to give you, when you purchase a house, your goal should be to get the house for 75% or less of the ARV. Okay, that's the after repair value. So to give you an idea, if you were purchasing a house and let's say that it was worth $100,000, your goal would be to purchase it for $75,000. That's a pretty good leeway. You want to give yourself that little bit of leeway, and that way you're going to have first some equity in the deal. So you're gonna have some built-in equity in the deal, and then secondly, you're going to be safe when it comes to refinancing. So when you do the Burr principle, of course, after you buy it initially and you rehab it and then you rent it, you want to be able to refinance it, and that's where you're going to be able to pull your money back out of the deal. So if you spend more than 75% of the ARV, it is likely you're going to be underwater. So we don't necessarily want to do that. You don't want to spend more. Yeah, a lot of these houses now, and we'll go on there and we'll take a quick look at the houses. A lot of these houses are way overpriced. So we don't necessarily want to waste our time on that. Okay, and then cash on cash return on your investment, the deal needs to make sense, okay? It needs to yield at least 12% or more cash on cash return. Now, some people will tell you 10% is a good cash on cash return. Even some people say, oh, 8% is good. Now, I generally don't look for deals like that. If they're 8% or 10%, it's not making money fast enough, and so I'm not really interested in that. So I want to make sure that we're getting at least 12%. If we're getting higher than that, even better. That's what we're looking for. All right, so let's move on. How to calculate your ARV. All right, the first step to calculating your ARV is you want to identify 3 to 6 comparable properties that are within a half-mile radius and they've sold within the last 6 months. Now, they have some programs for this. We're still working on trying to get you guys some programs that we can you just type in the house and it'll automatically spit out the ARV. But most of these programs are programs that you have to use. You have to have your realtor's license to have. So we have our realtors usually, you know, they give us some calculations and they calculate the ARV for us. But so first and foremost, you need to identify 3 to 6 comparable properties. Okay, you see that they've sold. You figure out what the average price per square foot is of those houses. Okay, and the way to figure out the average price per square foot is to divide the purchase price of the house by the square footage. Okay, and then step 3 you want to multiply the average price per square foot of the comps by the square footage of your investment property. So you want to kind of make sure that these all equal up. So if you see that the average price per square foot on the house is, let's say it's, $100 a square foot. Okay, if it's $100 a square foot, you're going to look at the house which you're purchasing, and you want to say, okay, the house I'm purchasing is 1,200 square feet. So therefore, I'm going to be able to figure out what the ARV is going to be. So $100 times 1,200 square feet, and then that will come up with your price per square foot. Okay, so now we are going to move to the next one, figuring out your cash on cash return. Okay, so the way to figure out your cash on cash return is you want to take the amount of rental income per month. You multiply that times 12, okay, and then you divide it by the cost of the property, and that's going to give you your cash on cash return. So just give you a quick example. If I was to take, let's say, $1,200 a month. Let's say I have a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house, which is giving me $1,200 a month. You're going to multiply 1,200 times 12. That gives you a total of $14,400 for the year. Okay, and then you divide that number by the amount that you're paying for the house. So let's say that you're getting $1,200 a month. Let's say you paid $100,000 for the property. So if you divide that by 100,000, that's going to give you a 14.4% cash on cash return on your investment, which is actually good. So if you saw a deal which is going to give you a 14.4 cash on cash return on your investment, that is a deal that I would move on. I'd recommend, I'd say, yeah, go ahead and buy that. That's going to be a good deal for you. So let's go on to the next one here. And just so you guys know, we do record these classes, so you can always request a copy of this, because some of these numbers and some of these equations I'm doing, and especially when Randy comes on, if we move a little fast for you, it might be something where it kind of just blows by. And if it does, it's no problem. You can just say, hey, can I request a copy of the class we did today? And I'd be happy to send it out to you. Now, what you'll notice is that they're all on YouTube, but they're on a private setting. And so when I go to release it to you, I put your email down. So you'll have to log in under your email so that you can watch the class, okay? All right, so let's go to the next one here. The rule of 72. How quickly am I going to be able to make my investment back? Okay, so now we just talked about the cash on cash return on your investment, and we talked about a 14.4% cash on cash return on your investment. Now, the rule of 72 states that if you divide the number 72, okay, if you divide it by the rate of return, that'll give you the number of the amount of time it's going to take you to double your money. So if we take the number 72 and we divide it by 14.4%, it's going to equal, let me see, 72 divided by, you have to move the decimals accordingly. Okay, so since that's going to be a total of, let me just do this here again, divided by, it's going to be 5 years. Okay, so when you do that, it says that in 5 years it'll take that amount of time to double your money. Okay, so when you have a 14.4% cash on cash return, you're gonna be able to double your money quicker. So now if you had an 8% cash on cash return, let's do the math on that here. So we're going to take 72 and we're going to divide it by an 8% cash on cash. It'll be 9 years. Okay, so it takes you a lot longer to get your money back if you do the rule of 72 and if you do it for the 9 years. Okay, so this way, what you're looking at is you always want to get the higher return. If you can get a return of 30%, 40%, it's going to take you less and less time. It's only going to take you 2 years. It's going to take you a much shorter time to get your money back or to double your money. So that's what we want to keep in mind. Okay, so now I've talked a little bit. What we're going to do is we're going to go on. I'm going to go on to Redfin, and I'm going to share my screen with you, and then we're going to let Randy kind of bring us home here. Let me get out of this here. I've got this. Okay. Now I did it again. Okay, here we go. Okay, let's go back to Chrome. Okay, let's see here. Here's Redfin here. Okay, can everybody see my screen with Redfin? Everybody?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. All right, so let's look at some of these houses. I want to make sure that we talk about them a little bit so you can see what I see. Redfin is just one way of looking at houses. We can look at Zillow. You can look at all these different methods. Now, the best deals, I'll say again, are the deals that aren't advertised. If you could actually be a wholesaler, if you can go back and you can knock on doors and you can find deals that aren't listed, you're likely going to be able to get a better price and you're going to be able to get a better deal. So let's look at some of these deals. Now, you'll notice this house, a 4-bedroom, 2-bath house. It's South Mendenhall Road. This is at 38115. So that is an area code which we talked about. That is Fox Meadows. Just on the screen here, you can see there's a house on McPherson Road, and this one is in 38116. Now, this is one I didn't put in there. This is Whitehaven. This is actually an area code we do invest in. This one is 38127. This one is Lake Park Road, Memphis, Tennessee. I don't recommend 38127, although there are some areas in 38127. This is called Frazier. So you can invest depending on where it is in Frazier. This is a house on Dunn. We had actually looked at this house. We were looking to get this one under contract. We own some houses on Dunn Road. This is 38111. Voltaire Road, this is 38128. This is Raleigh. So this is another one which is actually a good area code to invest in. And this is one that is on Larchmont Drive. This is 38111. And this one is overpriced. It's $225,000. So just looking at some of the deals that are on here, you're going to see that a lot of these deals are way overpriced. 38109 is not a great area code. I don't recommend it. This one is 38122 Rockwood Avenue. We just bought a house right next. It's on Renwood. This is Berclair, so this is actually a really good area code. Let's just analyze one deal, and then I'm going to hand it over to Randy. This one is on Spotswood, 38115. Let's look at the deal on the. We're going to go up, and we're going to look at this deal on the top. Well, let's look at this deal. This is interesting here. Okay. This is a house on Jackson Avenue. It's $59,900. So at first glance, you would think, okay, that's actually a really good price for a house. It's a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house, and you think, okay, I can rock with that. Spend $59,900 for a house, and for a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house, this house will likely yield about $1,000 a month for rent. But let's see what's wrong with it. Let's look down here. Okay, it says two bed, 1-bath, single-story house, sold as is, zoned for commercial mixed use. Okay, the renovation was started by the owner, but the owner decided not to complete the renovation. Okay, so that's one issue. So they started a renovation, didn't want to complete it. Okay, and then if you look and see, as we go down, you'll be able to look down and see where the square footage is. So if you look down here, you see that it's by schools. You can see on the public records, when you look at the public facts, this kind of gives you an idea of the square footage. You can see that the square footage is 1,040 square feet. So it's a small square footage. So again, it's about $1,000 a month. Okay, and then if you look down here a little further, you can see some of the comparables. It shows some of the comparable houses, other 2-bedroom, 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom houses, 3-bedroom, 1-bath that sold for $85K. And you can see some of the medium home price sales. So you see a little bit of information about it. But the thing that you're going to pay the closest attention to is these photos. Okay, it gives us 12 photos to look at. Okay, so when we look and see, you can first see this photo. Okay, you can see that they've got a whole bunch of sheetrock on the floor here, and you can see that the inside isn't even nearly done. Okay, you can look at this photo here. They started the renovation just like they said, and they've got a whole bunch of renovations still to do. Here's another photo. So you can see this is going to be a project. Okay, so if you're ready to do a project, great. If you have the contractors, which we do, they can do this work for you, but it's gonna cost some money. Now, just looking at these photos, I would guess to complete this house and to get it up to rent ready, it's going to be about another 20 to 25K. Okay, and I'm being conservative with those numbers. So if we say 20 to 25K, you know, and look on the side, you can see the siding, all this old rotten wood is going to need to be replaced. So you're looking at spending some money to get this house up to par. So the price at 59,000 isn't horrible, but at the same time, you know, if you're spending 20 to 25,000, let's even say 25,000 in the deal, you're going to be up to, you know, 85, 90,000. Okay, so now all of a sudden it doesn't get so great. So this is one of the things you want to take into consideration when you're looking at these deals. Okay, I think I have time for one more. Okay, so we're going to look at one more deal. Okay, so let's look at this deal on the front side. All right, this is a deal that is in Fox Meadows, 38115. It's a 4-bedroom, 2-bath house. You can say that they actually say it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home, and they say that the front living room could be an office or a 4th bedroom. So it's not technically a 4-bedroom, it's technically 3-bedroom. Roof is less than 5 years old. Home has covered parking, large backyard, dining room, primary bedroom, attached bathroom, and it says being sold as is. But if you look and see, we want to kind of see the square footage. So like I said, the two things you want to look at is you want to figure out what is your cash on cash return on investment. And the second thing you want to look at is you want to look at the ARV. So let's look and see first, in order to figure out the ARV, we have to see how big the house is. So let's look and see how big the house is. We're going to go down here to the public records again. You're going to see the public facts, and you'll see that the house is about 1,662 square feet, okay, which isn't bad. So 1,600 square foot house, if you figured, we're going to be conservative, we're going to say, we're going to figure on $100 a square foot. Okay, we're just going to say conservatively, if it's $100 a square foot, the total price would be, or the ARV would be $166,200.
Still can't hear him.
He's still muted.
Myself.
Wait, you're muted, Korbie.
Okay, I got it, honey. I got it. Okay, there we go, guys. Okay, where was I? I'll share my screen. Okay, are we sharing the screen still? Can you still see my screen?
No, so you were talking about figuring out the square footage of the house in relation to your cash on cash when we lost you.
Okay, all right. Let me share my screen again, and let's see if we can do this again here. Okay, I'm gonna screen share. Okay, so let's see here. Okay, can you see my screen now, guys? All right, very good. All right, so now we talked about the square footage, and so if we look at the square footage, we figured this was 1,662 square feet. Okay, so 1,662 square feet, we figured conservatively at $100 a square foot, it would mean that the ARV for the house is $166,200. Now, we're going to multiply 75% of that ARV. 75% would give us $124,650. So we're close. They're asking $130,000. So if we can get them down to 124,650, we'll be doing okay. Now, that's not even considering repair costs. Now, when I say 75% of the ARV, I'm also talking about the repair costs. You want to figure that in. You want to calculate that in. So if it's going to be $10,000 to repair this house and get it up to snuff, we want to add that 10,000 in. Okay, so this way, all in, we want to be at 75% or less of the ARV. Okay, so now let's figure out our cash on cash return on investment. The house is 1,662 square feet. As a rule of thumb, you can usually rent the house for the amount of money per month that the square footage is of the house. So you can likely get for this house about $1,600 to $1,650 a month for rent. So let's go 1,650, and we're going to multiply that times 12. That gives us $19,800. Okay, now if we divide that number by the purchase price, okay, let's say we actually purchased it for $130,000. If we divided it by $130,000, we are going to come up with a 15.2% cash on cash return on investment, which is actually pretty good. So it's likely we're going to submit this one. My team has probably already found this. Matter of fact, they sent me a message this morning about this house. But if we did get this house under contract, we would likely send it to one of you guys. We'd send it to you, Mallory, or we could send it to you, Marty. We can say, Phil, do you guys want this house? And then this way, we've already done the numbers for you, and we've already seen, and we would have already seen how much work is necessary to get this house rent ready. Okay. All right. So that being said, that is how these deals are going to be looking. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to hand this over to Randy. So I'm going to stop the screen share, and Randy's going to talk about the burp part of it. Okay. He's going to talk about paying it off. So Randy.
All right. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right. Well, so as you say, you use a lot of leverage to buy the houses. We're rehabbing the houses. We're finding good houses to get that cash flow. And Korbie also kind of alluded to at the beginning, at the beginning of having these houses, after you put your mortgages on, often you're cash flowing around $250 to $400. Ultimately, we know that we're going to be trying to get many of these homes so that we can increase our cash flow. But as he also pointed out with Jordan, once these homes are paid off, the cash flow becomes exponentially large. You go from having $250 to $300 now to $1,000 to $1,200. And it doesn't take as many homes having them that way to be able to have a substantial lifestyle. And so what we want to do is figure out how we can go about paying off these homes so that we're not leveraging these mortgages for 30 years. That's kind of the challenge, right? If we have these mortgages for $600, $800, $900, even though we're collecting the rent, the 30 years, a lot can happen in those 30 years. You want to be able to get that cash flow a lot sooner. And so what we do is teach you how to leverage additional time, additional money, and additional bank resources to be able to pay down your mortgages earlier. I'm going to start. I'm not going to go through the entire program because I don't want to overwhelm. I think I did that last year, and I think a lot of people were like, wait, what happened? So we're going to spend just a moment to look at how your mortgages are calculated. The banks do a great job of indoctrinating us to think that the only way we can utilize these mortgages is with a 30-year mortgage. And they love that because it often takes them, they get so much more interest over that time frame. So I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to look at a traditional mortgage. And let's say I want my full. All right. All right. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
And you can see, okay. So some of you have seen this before. On average, the homes that we're generally looking at are between 80,000 to around 150, maybe a little higher depending on your rents. But as Korbie also know, I like to deal with round numbers. So I've taken $100,000 house, which we have listed here. And right now, everybody's concerned, about interest rates. Interest rates, they're too high, they're this, they're that. In fact, banks are telling you that you should focus on that. The media is always telling you, oh, it's going to go up a quarter point, or maybe later this year it's going to go down a half a point, and everybody kind of decides to get their mortgages based on when these interest rates are going to go up and down. And banks are very much like magicians. They like you to focus on interest rates so that you don't focus on the true important aspect of a mortgage, and that is the interest cost. A lot of people might think that those are the same thing. I can assure you they are not, and we're going to run through and we're going to break that down in subsequent classes, but I do want to kind of start on a traditional mortgage right now. And Korbie, what was the last, like maybe your last average of 3 houses? Were they around in the 8%? That's about the high end
I
of
think
the
so.
interest
Yeah,
rates?
8% is about right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
8%.
about that.
Even on the high end, you can see that some of them have come in depending on your credit, because sometimes if your credit's not good, they could be a little higher. It could be more like 8.3, 8.4. But we've
Yeah.
been getting 8%, 7.5, that kind of thing. So
Yeah. So on average, we're looking, because it's a rental. The other thing that you may or may not know, my wife and I do the paperwork for your closings. So we'll often meet some of you as you're getting your homes, and then we also teach how to pay these off. But 8%, I think, is a good round number. So if you are to utilize a mortgage at 8%, $100,000, you're going to pay the bank back that $100,000 that you've borrowed, and then you're going to pay the bank $164,000 in interest cost on top of the $100,000 that you've borrowed. Now, most of us know that. We know that we're going to pay the bank basically a house and a half for the house that we purchased, which I think is insane on the face of it. That's a heck of an investment for the bank. But where the surprise comes in, I think, is how the bank gets their money. I think a lot of people think that it's broken down so that they get this $165,000 evenly throughout the life of the 30 years. When in actuality, they actually get it far sooner than that. So the way the banks utilize their magic mystery is they take your payment, your $733.76, which is what you would pay monthly. Remember, this is only principal and interest. It does not include taxes and insurance. But your payment is broken up into basically 2 things: principal and interest. On that $733.76, when you make your very first payment, you are only paying $67.10 towards the principal. You're paying $666.67 towards your interest cost. In this case, essentially, for all the value you're getting out of that $730, you could light $666 on fire, and that's the value. The bank gets all of that. You get the value of $67. The bank gets the value of $666. And I think that's why they put those two together as a principal and interest payment. Because if you had to write 2 separate checks to the bank, and you wrote one check for $67.10, and then you had to write another check for $667, and one was called interest, and you sent that in, I think a lot of people would not sign up for that deal. And they would do everything in their power to find a different way to finance these houses. So a lot of it, there is a better way to pay off these. We want to make sure that the bank's going to make their profit regardless, but we don't need them to profit this much on us. That's an insane amount of money. I'm going to break this down a little bit differently. We're going to break this down now. This looks very intimidating, so I do want to make sure that we keep you guys. What I've done is taken that same loan. It's $100,000 at 8%. And we've broken it down into $10,000 increments. So your first $10,000 payments, to be able to pay down your principal by $10,000, I wanted to know how much interest you're actually going to pay. So we're just going to focus on this first column right here. Same thing. That first $10,000 to pay it down is going to cost you 8 years and 8 months worth of payments. During that time frame, again, you're paying that $733 a month. During that time frame, you're going to pay down your $10,000. You're going to pay the bank $66,289.87. And if you were to basically convert that into, like, I don't know, a loan, a credit card, or something like that, the interest rate on 8.5 years, if you were to borrow just $10,000 and have to pay the bank $66,000, that essentially would equate to an 88% interest rate, which is legit. That's essentially what you're paying the bank in that first 9 years, is 88% on your money. So what we do is we teach you how to move that money in such a way that you can convert that $66,000 and use lines of credit, insurance, other, even extra payments, so that you're paying down this amount, this $10,000, without spending $66,000. In fact, in many cases, you can replace it down to 10,000, or in some cases, all the way down to 500 is how we teach it. But if we're going to compare this to just say a 20%, let's say, credit card. If I was going to take a $10,000 credit card at 20%, and I promised to pay that off in 8 years, 8 months, same aspect as your home, it would cost me an extra $203 a month. So there's something that you'd have to look at there. We teach how to eliminate that extra payment. But over the life of that 8 years and 8 months, you'd literally only pay $11,000 in interest versus $66,000 of interest over the life of the loan. Now, banks really, really don't want you to know that. They don't want you to know that you can manipulate their own tools so that you can not pay them $66,000 and instead pay them $11,000 or $5,000 or even $500, where they are substituting the amount that you're paying in interest for this amount. When we learn these tools, we can use our cycles to essentially pay off our homes in 5 to 7 years. 9 years on the outside if you're really limited, but generally between 5 and 7 years. This allows you to pay down your mortgages, use the cash flow that your tenants are giving you to essentially turbocharge the paying off of your homes, and be able to realize that extra cash flow going from $200 to $300 all the way up to $1,000 to $1,300 a month within that 5 to 7 year time frame. And so we'll go a little bit further into that in subsequent classes, but this is an introduction into how the amortization schedule works, how extra payments can drastically reduce the amount of time that you're paying your mortgage over that time, and how much you can save in interest so that you can use that money to turbocharge buying additional real estate to continue to create that cash flow. So that's the introduction of what we teach to be able to pay off these loans. We're using the leverage, not just of other people's money to buy the properties, but then we're also using the bank's tools to be able to pay down these properties so that we can turbocharge paying them off. Korbie, do you have any questions? Does anybody else have any questions?
Guys, any questions for Randy? If you have any questions, you can put a Q in the chat, or you can simply just ask away.
We're
No,
good.
no questions on this side.
Mallory, you have a question?
No questions over here.
Okay.
Awesome. Very cool.
All
We're
right.
good here too.
Okay.
Talking to you.
Same
And-
here.
What's that?
Same here. We don't have any questions. I don't think.
Okay. One thing to keep in mind too, guys, like I said before, Randy kind of talked a little fast. Some of the stuff that we're talking about, it may be something which, you look at and you say, okay, this is kind of flying over your head. If you need us to, we can send you the recording. So just request it after the call, and say, look, because once you watch it the second time, a lot of times then things will click and you'll be like, oh, okay, I understand now. But if somebody was to tell you and say, look, I'm going to show you how you can actually use a 24% interest credit card to pay down your mortgage and at the same time be able to use the bonuses and the benefits from the credit card to fly to Bora Bora, fly to Mykonos, fly to Italy, you would say, oh, that guy's crazy. But we're doing it all the time. And that's what I want you to know is that we literally are using these same techniques. Angelina has a question. We'll answer it in just a second. But I was saying we're using these techniques to be able to utilize and be able to utilize the credit and use the bank's focus against them. So essentially, yeah, these are the tricks that the banks won't tell you because they don't want you to know. They don't want you to be able to save all these years and years of mortgage interest payments. And so essentially, we know how to do it. We've hacked the system. So Angelina, if you want to, just unmute yourself and ask away, or Phil, whoever.
Yeah, hi, Korbie. Thank you. Is there feedback?
A little bit, yes.
A little bit's okay.
Okay, let me hold on.
I have a question too, Korbie.
Sure. Okay, so Angelina, you can ask first, and then Mallory, you can ask second.
Sorry, thank you. Okay, so we can use credit cards to pay a mortgage payment?
You absolutely can.
Wow, we were always told we couldn't, so that is great news.
Yes. Yeah, we'll show you the tricks. That's one of the tricks. That's one of the benefits and one of the hacks you'll get in this class because most people don't know you can do that. You can pay off car payments, you can pay off mortgage payments, you can do these payments with credit cards, and they won't tell you that. Jordan just recently paid off his truck with a credit card. And again, the same thing. There's these different apps. You'll pay a little bit more. I mean, they charge you a little fee, but the fee is nominal considering the amount of benefit you're going to get from it. So we'll be sharing that with you as we go. Okay, now, Angelina, did we answer your question?
Yes, thank you. That's phenomenal.
Okay, you're welcome. Okay, Mallory, go ask away.
No, I was gonna ask the same thing. About the credit card because they told me the same thing when we bought our house that you can't use a credit card to pay a payment on your mortgage. And then I even wanted to put like our payments for like our vehicles like on our Southwest so we could gain points. But when I tried to do it online, it only gave me the option to do a bank.
Got it.
So
Right.
yeah, I guess I'm really curious how you guys do it.
Right. Yeah. You can do it. Now, here's the thing. Some credit cards are not going to be allowed to do that. The Southwest card, I happen to know because, I have Southwest cards as well. Chase, they don't let you do it because even the app that we go through to use it to pay our mortgages, if you try to sign Chase onto it, it won't allow you to. But that's one of the things I'll show you. Like, there's certain credit cards you can use. MasterCards you can usually use without a problem. Chase gives you a little bit of problem. American Express also, it depends on the American Express card. But yeah, there's many ways to skin a cat. So this way you guys understand that this is how you're going to be able to hack the system, because when you can make big payments like that and you can pay your mortgage and at the same time be able to get all these free flights and all this kind of thing, that really, makes things easy. That's why I just, some of but Alyssa and I are going to be flying to Bora Bora in June. We're going to be going to the Mykonos in July, and we're going to be going to Italy in August, and it's all free. We're flying on points, and we're flying business class. And the thing is, when we go to Bora Bora, we're going to be staying in an overwater bungalow, which will also be free. So these are ways that you hack the system. And again, as you start getting better at this, you'll start to understand how to do it, and it just makes your life easier, and you'll start to be able to pay things off and get bonuses at the same time.
Yeah. And I'll also add on just a little bit, we can, there are certain sites that will help you make those credit card payments to your house, your car, and other things like that. There are easier ways to do it as well as we go along. There are lines of credit. There are other ways that you can utilize, especially if this is something that you want to do a little bit more often. And so yeah, we go through that all within Korbie's class. But the real point is, if you were to start with if you were to tell somebody at the beginning of this class, for example, that you should use or would want to use a 20% line of credit / credit card to make a house payment, most people would tell you were crazy. Why? Because they've never done the math. And the banks have done such a great job of telling you that's just not what you would do. You would never do a 24% credit card payment on an 8% loan. That makes no sense. The reason that it makes sense is that 8% loan is based on the full value of the 100,000, and the 20% is based on a portion of it. So when we go through this a little bit, and I'll preview a small class, but you don't care about interest rate, you care about interest cost. And when you understand how to calculate your interest, if you can control the aspects of the formula, if you can control 2 out of the 3 aspects of the formula, I'll do that in the next class, then you can control how much interest you're paying, and it doesn't matter what the interest rate is. And so that's the part of the hack that works as well. We're trying to give you control of the formula, control of your cash, control of your interest expenses, so that you can grow your cash faster and more efficiently.
Yes, and save tons and tons of money on the interest that the bank is going to charge you. So this will really be helpful to some of you. Okay, so
Awesome. Well, I can't wait till the next class now.
yeah, I tell you. Now the interesting thing is that the next class is actually going to be next week. Usually we do it bi-weekly. So we usually do it every other week, but because of the fact that I know that you all were taking a little bit of time, you hadn't finished with all of the intro steps. That's why I went ahead and held off the class. Instead of starting it last weekend, I went ahead and started it this weekend. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to jump into the next class next week. And again, next week we'll likely have a guest speaker on. It might be Robert from Avalon Capital, or it might be Craig or one of the guys, because we're going to be kind of focusing on where to get the money. So we're going to talk about that and talk about the loans and how much money you're going to have to initially come to the table with to invest. And then we'll also go again on some of the back end. We'll talk about the burp. So we're going to be also talking about the payoff start. So Randy will be talking more about that over the next class, and we'll be sharing more of that with you. Okay. But now, does anybody else have any questions?
What class will we get the hack information?
Well, you'll be getting it over the course of time, and the reason I say that is because it's not something which, if we give it to you all now, it's going to be hard. I mean, it's like trying to feed you a 20-pound steak at one sitting. It'll be hard to digest. You want to make sure we want to give you it in bits and pieces. So next week, more than likely, Randy's going to be sharing with you some of the ways that the interest is calculated. So it's not just principal times interest, but it's principal times interest times time. And so he's going to be talking about that type of thing. And we will be sharing with you, even in between classes, I'll be sharing with you guys the websites to go on, that kind of thing. Because one of the things you'll learn is that in this class, I share my resources. That's part of the reason why the class is so valuable, is because it's not going to be something where I'm just teaching you book stuff. I'm not just going to go in and talk to you about this A plus B equals C and this and that and the other thing. It's going to be like, hey, this is what I'm doing, and these are the websites that I'm going to. These are the people on the back end that I'm working with, and these are the people you want to get your house rehabbed from. These are the property managers you want to get your house rented from, and so on and so forth. And that's what makes it so valuable, because as you do it, you're going to be learning as you go. And the best way to learn is to actually do. If we talk about stuff, a lot of people talk, but I like to do it. So when I say, hey, let's do it, that's why, even at the end of the call, I always end by saying this, is that we're likely going to be sending you a lot of deals. We're likely going to be showing you, our team is working on the back end, even as we speak, on some of these deals. But what I say is, if you give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day. If you teach a man to fish, he'll eat for a lifetime. And so I want to teach you guys how to do this, and I want to teach you the formulas and everything. But at the same time, I want you to do it with me so that you understand. It's like, okay, oh, I see how he's doing it. And then all of a sudden, y'all will be joining me to go to Bora Bora or go to the Mykonos and all these fun trips.
So
So-
Korbie, would the classes be every Sunday?
Every other Sunday. This
Every other-
week,
okay.
this week was an anomaly. We should have done it last week, but the reason why I pushed it back was because you all hadn't gotten your EIN information and all that stuff. And I know for you, Mary, you and Marty had that. You had your LLC rejected the first time, and so
Correct.
that's why I said no problem. Let's just push it back, and so it works out just fine. And so this way, we're going to do it next Sunday, but after that, it'll be every other Sunday. It'll be 2 Sundays. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you so much. We learned so much today.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you,
You're
Korbie.
welcome. Okay. Anybody else have a question? Anybody else?
Same time?
Same time. Well, if there's no other questions, Randy, if you will unshare your screen, now we'll close it out for us. Okay. So, yep, we're going to do next week. It will be the same time. It'll be 11:30. And again, I want to reiterate the fact that if anybody wants to rewatch this video, just text me, let me know, say, hey, I'd like to get a copy of the video. And all these videos are on YouTube. They're just under a private setting. And so then I will send you, you'll get a message from YouTube that will, it'll actually unlock it for you, but you have to log in with your email. And this way you can watch the video. Okay. So if you want to watch it again, or you have some questions about it, feel free, send me a message, and you can rewatch it as many times as you want. But definitely, this is one of the things that this is just the beginning, and you're going to learn this as you go. There's Rio already sending me a message. He says, yeah, so get us a copy. I will get you guys copies of it. Most definitely. Yeah, I'll get you a copy of the video. All right. But any other questions for Randy or for myself, guys?
No, thank you so much to all of you.
Okay, you're welcome. Like I said before, this is one thing I'll say this again, is that wealth, if there's a saying, people always say steer clear of the get rich quick schemes. Okay, now I say it's not the get rich quick schemes you have to steer clear of, because we all want to get rich quick, because we're not going to be here long enough to get rich slow. But what we want to be clear of is stay away from the get rich easy schemes. There's no such thing as getting rich easy. Okay. We know how to hack this. Okay. So we want to make sure that, yes, I'll get you a copy of the class as well. But yeah, what we want to do is we want to make sure that you understand we don't want to be in the rat race. You want to get out of the rat race as quickly as possible. And how do you get out of the rat race? By purchasing cash flowing assets. There's only a certain number of days in the, a certain number of hours in the day, and there's only a certain number of days in the week. And so no matter what, if you worked 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day, 12 hours a day, there's no way you'll be able to make enough money to get you out of the rat race, because you still have to sleep. You have to eat. And so you want to create assets which are going to be making you money while you sleep. So that's how we do it. We want to make sure you put your money to work for you. And most people, the reason why you might be broke, or the reason why you're not, there's always at the end of the month, there's more month than money, is because of the fact that your money is unemployed. So if you have some money sitting in a 401k, you saw my example at the beginning of this video, 401k. I don't say don't invest in 401k or don't invest in your, the stock market and get dividend stocks. But I'm just telling you, real estate is going to get you rich that much faster. So that's where you want to kind of pay attention to. You put your money in that, you're going to see the return on your investment come much, much quicker. Okay. That being said, anybody else? Questions? Going once? Okay. Well, it's been good, guys. Good first class. You all enjoy the rest of your weekend. And I'm sorry if any of you was rooting for the San Francisco 49ers, but
Oh, it's so me. So sad.
Yeah. Well, just like the rest of the stuff that's going on in San Francisco, is not, the team It's in the gutter. All right. You guys have a good rest of the day. Okay. Catch you guys
Thanks,
later. Signing
Hey,
off.
Korbie. Take
All
care.
right.
Thank you,
Onward and
Korbie.
upward.